Yay!
Yep. Okay, we're getting stuff. We're here for it. Yay!
Yay! Okay. Hey, bitches.
What's up? Welcome.
We're all here.
To Salacious Sips.
Oh.
The Drinky Book Club.
I'm Laurel.
AKA the
this time.
House of Wind Book Club. The Valkyries Smutty Book Club.
Yes. At least while we cover Akatar.
Yes.
Which
doesn't happen until the next book that we're going to talk about, but you know.
Whatever.
Okay.
I'm Christina.
I'm Laurel.
I'm Claire.
And what are we drinking today?
We're drinking wine. Fairy
wine. A different one than last time.
Less glittery fairy wine.
We have determined that I am not allowed to pour the glitter.
No, you're not.
I am now the glitter bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, I am also double fisting a tequila we previously
Look, man,
discussed.
we kept pouring wine and there was like residue in the bottom of our glass.
We never had to put glitter in every refill.
No, and glitter has kind of a chalky texture to it too.
I think it's because it's like the mica. Or
it
whatever.
It will change the texture and flavor of your wine if you
a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, a little bit goes a long way.
I
forgot to bring the bottle to the pod loft with me, but we're drinking Tattoo Girl, which is a dry Sauvignon Blanc.
Am I the only one that has the book with me?
Yes.
Yes, I have it. Hold on. Stop recording here.
Or just keep recording.
Keep recording. You know, you do you. I'll be right back.
If necessary, I can find another device. But I think we're oops, I'm also on a hockey. Whoopsie doopsie.
I read it long enough ago.
That was kind of like we're telling you anyway.
That you're reminding me lots of stuff. And it's interesting to see what I remember and what I don't remember so well.
Like, I reread this. I read this book.
Oh, you did?
2 months ago.
Yeah, she finished.
And I reread it this week, and I kept going
that's so
like...
good of you. I should have reread it, too.
I'm like, I don't remember any of this shit.
See, like we said last time, my book 2 and book 3 just melded
into
one.
They melded together
so
really
much.
bad, which is why I ended up rereading this one, because we kept talking about the last book, and I was like, Mist and Fury, and I was like, what? That happened?
Oh, yeah.
I remember, like, the first half of the book, and the second half of it is just this blank.
Yeah.
Right. And today is A Court of Wings in Ruin.
Yes.
Again, this is Sarah J. Maas. Because we're still in the lovely Akatar world.
Oh, yeah.
This is the third book in the Akatar universe.
I really like the beginning of this one. The first part. The Princess of Carrion. Oh, yeah. Spoilers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do not listen to this if you haven't read it yet.
If you, like, are not okay with spoilers. Like, if you haven't read it, but you're like...
Because I don't want spoilers. I am not a spoiler person. I do not want to know.
Yeah.
So it's probably good that I read the books first, because...
I guarantee I would give everything away.
Yes, and Christina was, like, looking up and saw stuff on all of the socials, and I was like, no, you're not supposed to know that yet.
She also just picked out some plot stuff, too, right? Like, there were a couple times that we were, like, talking about the first book, and she's like, this is definitely going to happen.
And we're, like, giving each other the eye.
You and I were looking at each other, I was like, I can't confirm or deny that anything like that is going to happen. You know what I mean?
We're like, yes.
But this is me. This is what I do. I predict
And we're like, and then some of the text, I was like, almost. You're almost
like,
there.
You're so close. You are so close.
Not quite, but almost.
Almost. So close.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. This one, I think, is maybe my third favorite out of all of them.
It's hard for me. Like I said, 2 and 3 in my mind are 1, and that's probably my favorite. And then 5, or back and forth. I like the smut in 5.
But 5 is unhinged in the best way.
So, I can't decide between 2 or 3. I really like 2.
Yes.
But I also really like 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're both
5 is definitely number 2.
Okay.
I like the little novella.
Yes. The novella was fun, and I gotta say, I read the novella during Solstice. Like, I was actually reading it during Solstice.
That's right.
I was like, oh my god, that's perfect. It just happened that way. I told you guys, but, you know, we weren't there yet.
Yes, we weren't there quite yet. Yeah.
But yeah, I like the first part of this book.
I like this one.
I love...
you want to tease apart 2 and 3 for me here? What happens at the beginning of this one?
So in the first part of this book, she's at Spring Court. Feyre's at Spring Court.
Oh,
it's where
she goes back and basically...
right, at the end. So she starts in Spring Court.
Yeah.
She
starts in Spring Court. And I remember she kind of like...
She's the 5th columnist here. She's like, yeah.
Yes.
And I love, like...
Well, but she goes back to the spring court at the end.
Because of what
end 2.
Because of what Tamilto
yes.
did to her sisters.
Yes.
And I think we might have mentioned this last book. But if we not, I won't call him Tampon because tampons are useful.
Yes.
He's Tamilto, which everyone hates.
Or Tamlines.
Yeah.
That cracked me up.
Tamlines or Tamilto.
That meme cracked me up.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah, so she goes back to the spring court. And really kind of just not,
slowly
really just plays
him.
along. Yes,
and the only one who's too stupid to figure out that she's playing along is Tam.
Ianthe also didn't figure. Lucian's the only one that really knows.
Yeah, he suspects.
Well, Lucian is the only one who knows, but that's only because he ran into her in the forest in the second book.
Well, and his eyeball.
She seemed like she was okay.
You learn later on in the book because of his magic eyeball.
Well, yes, but Alice also knows.
Alice knows.
Alice definitely knows. Alice is on her side. Like,
Alice sees
Alice loves her.
Alice's only warning was, like, don't get anybody in my family killed and you're fine. Right.
Well, she asks for that. It's because Alice is like, yeah, I have family at the summer court. And she's like, oh, right.
And she's just like, just be careful what you do, right? Like, you know, I realize that you're the sleeper agent here just waiting to, you know.
And Lucian's magic eyeball sees through the glamour.
Yes.
I love what she does. I think, it's the summer solstice? Or what is it when they do the ritual?
It was the summer solstice.
I thought the original one was the spring where she meets Rhysand.
That's Calamai. That's spring.
That's Calamai, but I think this
it's
is the summer one.
Because winter doesn't happen until after all the wars shit. So that makes sense.
Winter happens when she's at Valeris, right?
The next solstice is at Valeris.
Right.
I think it's summer because remember she goes. So Ianthe is gonna go do this ritual.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And Feyre basically goes and changes. She basically changes the marks of where Ianthe is supposed to stand. So Ianthe finds her mark, but it's not the right mark.
So she's not in the sun. Feyre's in the sun.
And the sun rises behind her, remember? And
Lucian is kneeling in front of Feyre.
Yes. Well, but that happens after a second, right? Because then she pulls Hellion's power for a second and does the glowing thing.
Yes.
Right? Just to kind of reinforce that
she's the chosen one.
Ianthe is the interloper here.
Right. And she's the chosen one.
And Feyre is the chosen one. Oh, here it is. Hold on. Summer solstice. Yeah. Summer solstice. It's chapter 4. Because she's remembering the year before's summer solstice, right? But, she kind of, implies that she kind of went and moved the marks around.
Yeah.
So, right? And so Ianthe kind of, gives her a look at the end of the chapter.
And she's like, yep,
I really did that.
And this is the start of Feyre turning Tamilto against his bestie. Against Lucian.
But this is also, the whole of Spring Court is
slowly getting
turned. Yeah, away from Tamlin.
Well, and it's because he has no capacity to think creatively.
He doesn't manage well.
He doesn't.
He can't think for himself.
But you also have to remember that, there was a ceremony that happens kind of, off screen, right? When Feyre's gone in Calamai, where Tamlin makes Lucian stand in for the fertility.
Has to fuck Ian
for the fertility thing.
I didn't remember that.
And Lucian has to have sex with Ianthe.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was supposed to be Tamlin, and Tamlin's like, oh, my wife, Feyre, right? Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
He kind of played that card, right? And got copped out, right? Mm-hmm. So Lucian had to take his place, and Lucian's kind of just not happy about that because it sounds like Ianthe is kind of a little bit of a character.
I know, but
she's a little bit of a dom in bed.
We don't use this word a lot because it's horrible, but the sentiment behind it fits here. Ianthe's a cunt.
Yeah, well, yes.
Ianthe's a predator. She's been trying to prey on all of the men sexually, and
because she wants power.
But remember who Ianthe is working for, right? Ianthe is working, for Hybern.
Mm-hmm.
In
but
an
also
underground kind of capacity.
But it's because she wants power.
Yes.
Her only goal is she's going to get power through Hybern, but she also the one thing that Feyre, if I remember correctly, Feyre is upset with her because she has pushed herself on all these men that she's close to.
Yes, and also influences the whole relationship with Hybern and everything because she wants power. So after the ceremony, so that's the start of where Tamlin or Tamiltoe gets turned against his bestie, Lucien, because Feyre starts fucking with
but that's where the cracks kind of start to show, right?
Yes.
But remember,
because Calamai started it, and then Feyre just broadened and widened them.
But I thought it was the whole. I thought it was the running into Lucian's room and pretending to be upset, and then Tamlin comes to her and she's in the wrong room.
It's the same day. It starts at the ceremony because he's kneeling in front of her like a knight to his queen. Mm-hmm. They mention that, and then Feyre asks Tamlin to dance, flirts with him, and then goes to bed early, and then thrashes around like she's having a nightmare, and then runs to Lucian's room.
I had a nightmare.
As Tamiltoe is coming to go bang her.
Yes.
Yes.
Which she's not planning on doing anyway.
So she's doing the setup.
Yes.
But then he sees her in Lucian's room and he's really mad.
Yes. But don't forget, a couple chapters later is the incident where with the Vogue or whatever that get inside the spring port.
Yeah, it's like the same. They're right after
because
Ianthe stole the key.
Because Ianthe stole the key from one of the guards.
That's right. She stole the key from the guards.
And Tamlin punished the guard anyway, right?
Yes.
Like Feyre was like, "You shouldn't punish him. It wasn't his fault."
Right.
Ianthe did this, right? And Ianthe didn't exactly deny it, right? Like Ianthe gets cornered, and she's like, "Well, shit happens, right?" And then. He punishes everybody anyway, and then all of a sudden, like,
all the guards are against him now, too.
Tamlin has now basically lost the trust of his whole court, right? Because
because he's not taking the words of his trusted guards over.
Well, yeah, right.
Ianthe.
And then there's where he blows up at Feyre and explodes and magic-ease, and she gets hit in the face with.
That's right.
Injured. She gets injured.
Shatters the furniture again
around her.
Yes.
Because she wants to go she's going with Lucien to they
went with Lucien to go inspect the
wall with Hybern
and the
what's his name,
right.
Jurian.
Well, and remember there's
and the two the
Hybern,
twins.
the twins
that
have a weird incestuous sexual chemistry.
There's
niece and nephew, the king of Hybern.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Dagnan and Branagh, and they go and inspect the wall. Remember, and the children of the light come through. And Feyre's like, just go the fuck home and we'll leave you alone.
Right.
While Branagh and Dagnan go after them and kill them.
They go after him.
Then Feyre and Lucien don't really take very kindly to that. So remember the bog. No, I thought it was the boggy. They send the boggy.
They
basically bait the boggy back to go after Branagh and Dagda.
That's right.
Dagdan, right? And Tamlin's capital N not happy about that, right? Which is more than fair because he's trying to stay in the King of Hybern's good graces, right? It's a shitty move,
and Jurian sees what Feyre and Lucien do and says thank you because he's mortal.
Yes.
But this is the cracks are widening.
Yeah.
But this is also a little bit of Jurian very badly playing both sides too, right?
Yeah, he
plays both sides and he doesn't do either of them very well.
But I love
out of spite because he's trying to get back at his girlfriend.
When Tamiltoe blows up and breaks all the furniture and scrapes up.
Yeah.
Feyre, she doesn't access. Is it which one is the healing? Daycourt is healing? No, Daycourt's curse breaking.
Summer. I thought Hellion's power was.
Was it?
So it's summer or day.
No,
it's day. Day is
it's either day or dawn. Yeah, day.
Day or dawn.
Day or
dawn court. I thought.
Day or dawn. It's one of the. It's day.
I thought it was dawn court.
Because day is curse breaker.
Yes, so that would make it dawn.
So, Thiessen.
Yes.
Yes. The healer.
Yes. Thiessen is the healer. Yes. And he's Dawn.
Yes. She doesn't use that power to heal herself.
Yes.
Right, because she wants everybody to see it.
Yes.
And Tamiltoe's most trusted guards see it and see her sitting uncomfortably on the horse and everything. Mm-hmm. And so she slowly is fucking with him.
Yes. So then they go back out to inspect the
farthest wall
of the wall, and they get out there, and Ianthe goes. Well, Feyre's decided that she's gonna
leave,
cut and run.
And Alice gives her all of the extra packs and
stuff. That's right. She's prepared.
Yes, prepared to...
Well, and because Feyre is all the cracks and everything is done, I don't need to be here anymore.
Right.
Yes.
I can get out. I can get away by myself.
Yeah, and so she's kind of sneaking off, right? So she made it so she sort of framed Ianthe.
Right.
And she's going and trying to sneak off.
But it goes wrong with Ianthe, right?
Well, Ianthe is being a predator on Lucian.
Yeah,
that's right.
So she finds Ianthe basically sexually assaulting Lucian in the woods, and she's like, I can't just leave him behind.
Because she's too good of a person.
Right? So she crushes...
He's my friend.
Remember, she crushes Ianthe's hand.
Yes.
And Lucian's like, okay, well, I can't go back at this rate, you know, and so she's like, well, come with me.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, he's like, I'm going with you because it's his mate.
His mate
is that's
there.
right. He wants to go find Elaine.
But then, unfortunately, the twins show up.
That's right.
And they have to kill the twins.
They have to kill the twins.
They kill the twins, but then they also are fed the Bloodbane.
Yes, the Feybane.
They
eat the Feybane, so they have no power.
So they have no power.
They feed them the Feybane before they get...
Yes, they've done it all throughout.
Because they've been eating the apples, right?
Because the twins are also...
The same thing she is.
Yes.
Like she is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she got that from Rhys.
Yes. And they know she is.
They know. They all know.
Well, they've known that from the get-go. They've known that from the jump, right? Because, like, they sat at the dinner thing and she, like, poked around in their thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm. And she wasn't very good at it because she's new to it.
Yes. So they have to escape, and Lucian goes with her. They do the portal to Autumn Court.
But they can only go so far.
Yeah.
They don't make it. They can't make it all the way to
They
Valeris.
can't go to Summer Court.
No.
Because
she has
the blood rubies.
Yeah. The blood rubies, yeah.
So they go to Autumn Court.
Because he knows his way.
Yeah, and so they get into a hunting cave, and Lucian's like, you've been planning this all along.
But she should have been able to winnow a couple times and make it to Valeris.
But because they have no power.
And she couldn't make it. Yes.
And so they got through Autumn Court. Blah, blah, blah.
And Eris runs into them. And
Eris and the brothers.
They get caught by his band.
They get caught, but then they escape.
And then they get caught again.
And then they go through Winter Court.
And then they're in trouble.
And then Cassian and Az show up.
Az shows up.
Cassian and Az show up.
I thought Az came to pick them up in Cassian.
Oh,
that's right. Both of them were there. That's right. It was Moore that met them at the border.
Yeah, Cassian lands and fights Eris. And Az is helping Lucian against the brothers.
Yes.
Feyre is like, I could let them kill them because these guys are some of the most feared warriors. Or, so she's like, no, stop. And she's like, I'll give you your lives. And everyone's like, Nina, that means nothing. And she's like, I'm High Lady of the Night Court. And they're like, uh-oh.
Like, oh shit.
We fucked up.
Yep.
Like, there's no such thing as High Lady. I'm like, there is now.
Mm-hmm.
Then they get to Moore.
And that's how everybody finds out.
That's how everybody finds out.
Well, that's how, but they think that's how everyone found out. But Eris doesn't say anything, because you find out at the meeting no one knows.
Well, but Eris' whole ploy in this is he's basically, like, trying to get his dad to not fuck it up too badly.
Yes.
And be able to take over
kill him
eventually.
just long enough to very conveniently off his father and take over.
But we don't know this right at that point yet. Quite.
By the middle of the book we know.
Find out.
Yes,
right.
yes.
At this point, you don't know Eris wants to take over. I mean, it's obviously there, but
yeah, he doesn't want Dad to fuck it up, and he needs his dad not to do something really.
They get to Moore at the border.
Yes.
And then they winnow to Illyria.
Yes.
Quickly at the border between Illyria and Winter Court.
Yes.
And then Rhys isn't there, and I was like, where is he? It's like, he's coming, he's far away. And then
he was far away.
Then they're like, let's go home, and Feyre's like, which home?
Yes.
And they're like, let's go to the townhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucian is just like, what the fuck is happening?
Lucian poor Lucian's just along.
We're taking Lucian along for the ride.
Poor Lucian is just along for the ride at this point.
And,
and everybody's looking at him like he's like
Tamlin's
best friend.
And he is quite literally the redheaded stepchild in this juncture.
The whole group.
In every way that it is possible to be that, right?
She's like, he is my friend. Like
he
she basically is just kind of like, he's not a bad dude.
He helped me escape. He helped me against his brothers. Like, it's okay.
Yes.
But also don't trust him.
Yes. Lucian's not a bad dude, but also he's
also
very loyal.
He's very loyal.
And he's also here for
Tamlin,
my sister, his mate.
Yes.
That's why he's here.
Yes. And there's a little hesitancy there because Elaine basically told him to pound sand, right?
I mean, to be fair, she's not wrong for doing so.
No.
She went through that traumatic cauldron experience, and he's like, you're my mate!
And then all of a sudden this guy is like, you're my mate, and she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know,
I was supposed to get married!
I don't blame her for having that reaction, right? And like, you know, by the time they get back to Valeris and get back to all of that, Elaine's is not doing so hot.
No.
Well, the random mumblings that you hear when she talks to everybody, I'm like, I was reading, I'm like, she's a seer.
Yeah, she's a seer.
And they don't figure it out because like she's randomly mumbling. Like, okay, the only people that randomly mumble like that are seers or oracles.
Yes.
In any mythology.
Yeah, she's seeing.
Well, and especially one that's been traumatized, right?
Oh,
like, she has no idea what the actual.
She doesn't know what's going on.
She doesn't know what the actual fuck is going on.
Not like she's been a seer all along. She just poof is.
Yes. Yeah.
No wonder she's like retreated into herself. And she comes
by it in a really traumatic way too, right? Like, and like all of these things are happening, and all of a sudden she's Faye, and this other Faye says that they're like mates or whatever,
I know.
right? And
she's been learning to hate them. Her fiance and his family hate them.
Well, but there's also like she knows that her fiance is going to reject her.
Oh
because, like he's very anti-Faye, right? Like,
well, and I think it's hilarious because you find out
later
hallucinating
on, probably.
You find out later on that you think the father is the one that you can't negotiate with, and it turns out no, it's Grayson. It's Grayson. It's the son. It's Elaine's fiance. And
yeah,
it's like,
Grayson's a piece of shit.
Oh god. But we're jumping ahead. But again, we did not take any notes, so this is kind of book report / book club.
But it's where things connect. It's like stream of consciousness.
Yes, because there's like a lot of there's a lot of in between going on.
Yeah, we're leaving a lot of details out because this is like a 700 some odd page book.
But this is a book club, and we figure you've read it.
Yes, we're assuming you've read it, guys.
Or you don't want to read it and you just want to hear us talk about it, which is also completely valid.
True.
I mean, we'll give you most of the plot points.
We're the modern Cliff Notes with 100% more curse words.
Yeah,
and a lot of boozy ranting and off the rails situations.
Oh, I have a really good swirl in my glitter in my wine. Just saying, my favorite wine's like
and shenanigans.
Right yeah.
So go back to we go back to Valaris, and immediately Rhys is there, and he's like, "Let's go bang."
Yeah, so they go bang. As one does.
It's like, everybody get out of that damn house.
Yeah, well, like, he literally picks her up and is like, I'm gonna go fuck my wife, get out of here.
And you see, and this is one of those things where, like, he will kneel for no one but his queen.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Which is very cute.
Yes. Right. It's very cute.
They're disgustingly cute.
We all love it.
Yes. To the point where even their friends in your circle are like,
rolling their eyes. They're just like disgustingly cute. Yeah.
They do all of that. Then they all go to the House of Wind.
Yes, where
they explain to Lucien the story, and Lucien is like, I didn't realize I was the villain in your story. We were the villains in your story.
Yeah, because like when you're in the middle of it and you're just listening to what your, basically best friend and boss is telling you to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the best friend and boss can't think for himself.
Well, but there's also very much a little bit, and I know that this really isn't a thing, but there's a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome there, right? Where Lucien basically got handed over to the Spring Court because he's the seventh son.
And he had to leave Autumn Court.
He had to leave Autumn Court, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, he had nowhere else to go, really. And so now he's kind of like...
And his friend took him in.
He was as trapped in Spring Court as Feyre was, but his circumstances were just wildly different, right? So, like, Lucien's kind of fucked up, too, between...
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, they all had a lot of trauma because of...
Lucien is not a bad
Amarantha
guy.
And Under the Mountain.
Well, he had trauma from that, but his father killed his lover.
And all of his brothers hate him.
All of his brothers are assholes to him.
He's literally the redheaded stepchild in his own family, and everywhere he goes, he's the outcast everywhere he goes.
Everywhere.
Right? Like, he's always kind of just like this unwanted. He just stumbles into it. Nobody wants him there, and he doesn't want to be there either, right? He's just kind of like fumbling his way through all of this, right?
And I think we should have known this was foreshadowing, but I didn't when I read it.
Yes.
They get to the House of Wind.
We get to the House of Wind.
And Lucien finds out the story.
Yeah. Yes, Lucien hears kind of really the whole story for the first time, right?
Yeah.
From like both sides, because he's only seen it from Tamlin's perspective.
Yes, sure. And then he mentions about, they haven't talked about Amryn yet, being the grumpy old aunt.
No, they haven't talked about. They haven't talked about what.
We're in that area, but it's all in this area. Like grumpy aunt is Amryn, the grumpy elder aunt.
And they have dinner, right? And, like, everybody's just, like...
And Lucien's, like,
bantering and giving Rhys shit, and Lucien's just sitting there.
This is not the Rhys I've ever seen before.
He's like,
who is this?
What is the dress code? Whatever you want.
Well, but it was, like, a lot for Lucien at once, right? Because it's, like, everybody's giving Rhys shit, right? Which, like, you don't do with Tamlin.
Because Tamlin holds a form of court.
He finds out Amryn is actually real, right? Because he's like, oh, no, they would just tell us she was real, so he wouldn't misbehave, right? Like, she was, like, this nightmare thing.
Exactly.
And she's just a grumpy old aunt, and they realize... Rhys doesn't have a formal court, and he's like, yeah, because he lives in a fucking townhouse.
Yes.
They thought it was like, what is his form of what they've made Under the Mountain after? The
Court of Nightmares.
Court of Nightmares. He thought Court of Nightmares was it, like everyone else.
Yeah, and that was it.
And that was Rhys.
Well, because City of Starlight was
saved and protected.
Yes.
And kept as a secret.
No one knew about that. His family's been protecting it for millennia.
Yes.
But... He's like, who is this Rhys?
It's like, I'm so confused.
Yeah. So yeah, he's sitting there at dinner with just like, dinner plates for eyeballs because
and you see Nesta being Nesta. And Elaine is just slightly catatonic and weird.
Yes.
Because no one figures out she's a seer yet.
She hasn't even figured out what she
is. Favorite part,
Amryn knows first, though, right?
Amryn knows about Nesta. But no, they have a...
Oh, that's right, because
Elaine keeps her.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Nesta's only the
my favorite thing at dinner is when Feyre's like, I want to learn how to fly.
Yes.
And like...
Lucian is like, what the fuck?
Well, Lucian is like, that explains the wings that showed up.
Yes.
Moore spits her wine out in front of Ass, and Cass is just like, Everyone's just like, wait, what?
Wait, what? You can do what now? She's like, yeah, I didn't mention that, right?
But she can shape change, so she can make the wings.
Yep. Which, again, it's important in the next book.
Yes.
It's important later in this book.
It's important in this book.
Yes. But, like, the whole shape-changing thing fully
is
important.
It is, but it's important for the war in this book.
Yes. But in the fifth book, it's really important for a really unhinged reason.
Which we're not going to discuss yet.
No.
Shit happens.
So basically, so like...
Training happens.
Like, Feyre's doing training.
She's mostly crashing.
Nesta's giving Cassian shit.
It's their weird Cassian Nesta.
Yeah, it's their will they won't they kind of thing.
They move everyone to the townhouse.
Yeah, because they're basically like Elaine kind of just needs to get out of this room.
Yeah, right. She needs to be able to guard it.
And Lucian kind of argues for that, right?
Yeah.
He's like, for the love of God, let the woman touch grass, right? Like
she needs to be able, and she does. She starts gardening.
She comes out of her shell a little bit when they move her to the townhouse.
Amryn is figuring out the book.
Well, but Amryn and Nesta kind of start to build a relationship here
because they ask about the wall.
Yes.
And then Feyre and Cassian go to the prison.
Yes.
And
to talk to the bone carver.
Feyre realizes Bone Carver looks like her son.
Yes.
Because she's seen it before, but then she's like, "Oh my god,
again, she
this
saw
is
him
my." She saw him before
in the first book, but she hadn't.
She thought it was
in the second book.
In
the second book, but she hadn't made the connection.
She hadn't made the connection.
But this time she realizes who that is. It's not.
And
Rhys.
she's like, "Oh shit,
this is our child.
Our kid.
This is my child."
And then I don't know if it was this. Yeah, it's this one where he's like, "If you go to the Court of Nightmares, my sister had a mirror." The Ouroboros mirror.
The Ouroboros mirror.
Remind me, I found not only did I find these t-shirts, but I found a t-shirt we have to get for the Bone Carver. And I think Douglas is going to love it too. Just saying.
Is it Eldritch? Is it kind of like creepy?
It's cute. It's really
because they go to see the bone.
It's very metal.
Yeah. Very metal. Because they go to see the Bone Carver again.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the first time she gives him the bone from the attar that she splattered across.
That's
lunch.
Right.
And then they go back again and she gives him a chicken bone from lunch.
Nah.
Because it's after the Court of Nightmares.
It's after the Court of Nightmares, yes. Because she's trying to figure out...
Oh, yeah. Douglas would love it.
Look at that.
Oh, yeah. No, he'd dig
Except he'd be very confused.
Yeah.
He'd dig that. So this is where we find out that, like, the Carver and the Weaver in the Wood are twins.
Yes, and they have a brother.
They're like some ancient thing.
God
of this world.
They're death gods.
So what he's trying to figure out, the reason he wants answers is because he's trying to find out about death. Like,
well, that's because
what happens to you after you die.
That's what Feyre answered in the last. And then he felt what happened to Nesta.
Yeah, if he dies, will he go back to his home and that sort of thing.
And this is where they start talking about the older brother, and then towards the end of this book, I'm like, I know who the older brother is.
So we find out that they're twins, and there's an older brother.
But then towards the end of the book, I guessed who the older brother was.
Yeah,
and then I read the next book,
you just know he's somewhere else.
And then they go to Court of Nightmares.
Yes, they go to Court of Nightmares because they need Kyr's Darkbringers.
And this is where Feyre gets revealed
as the High Lady.
Yes.
And is dressed in gauze and spider webs.
Yes. But this is also where Eris comes back into play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remember? Because Az went out looking for clues and Eris caught him. And so basically what they had to do was basically like
make a pact
pact with Rhys, right? And kind of be like, we won't kill you. We'll let you, help us and play our game. Just don't kill us.
We'll back your play.
Right. And this obviously kind of
in the Autumn Court once you kill your father.
And then this is also where, sadly, Rhys messes up his personal relationship slightly with Mor.
Yes. Because if he told Mor, right, like, it was really kind of, it was a damned if he did and damned if he didn't situation with Mor, and she gets it eventually.
Yeah, they talk and forgive each other and realize, like, he had no other choice.
Yeah. It was Azriel or, Rhys, right? And, Lucian's always going to pick his family over it, right? And he's like, and he kind of tells Feyre this too. He's like, sometimes you fuck up, right? Which is totally,
But he didn't have a good choice. I mean, he had to make the best choice he could.
To protect not just his court.
She's really upset that her one place to be happy is going to be ruined by her father coming.
Yes, because the whole deal was that they were going to have some access to Valaris, right?
Yeah.
Her trauma trapped her too. Yeah. Which again gets referenced in the next two books. Yes. In the novella, and the fact that Rhys realizes Mor has trapped herself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, to some extent, right?
And, and this is where Feyre is like, no, I'm not getting the mirror. Because at this point, she's like, they tell her everyone who's looked in the mirror goes crazy.
Yes.
Right, so she's like, well, that's not an option at this point.
Yeah.
And...
Yes. And then they go back to the bone carver and they're like...
This is where the chicken leg shows up.
This is where the chicken leg shows up. They go back to the bone carver and they're like, there has to be some other option. Right? Mm-hmm. And the bone carver says... oh, what was it that he... Shit. Because he was like, basically...
Yeah.
They could go get the Ouroboros mirror, or...
He wants nothing but the firstborn son. Child.
Yes, that's what I thought it was. That she had to give up her son, or she could look into the Ouroboros mirror and bring it to him. And she's like, okay, well, giving up my firstborn son is the lesser.
It's not going to happen. And this is where Rhys realizes what the bone cover looks like to Feyre.
Yes.
And then right after this or something around here is where Hybern attacks
Adrestia,
yeah.
What?
The Summer Court gets attacked.
Oh, yeah. So they go right away. They're the only ones that don't hold back. Like, they go to help them right away.
Right away. Well, because they were warned by Varian because Varian told Amren.
Yeah, so they go.
Feyre uses all of her power and realizes how scary she is.
Okay. So what happened was, so Hybern fainted. So Hybern sent the ravens.
Oh, he sent the ravens to the library. He sent the
black raven and the white raven in the library,
to steal Nesta.
To steal Nesta,
and that's what we meet.
Feyre says, "Fuck no," and that's where we meet Bryaxis. Because the only way that so Nesta and Feyre are in the library when they attack.
Because they're researching about the wall.
And the only way that they can really get out is to go down, right? And Feyre's like, I don't know what's down here, but I have a blatant disregard for deals, and I can talk my way out of a paper bag, right? So they go down there and they find Bryaxis.
And Bryaxis is like, I want someone to talk to.
Yes, Bryaxis is like, I just want a friend, and I just want to look outside, right?
Well, I look outside is later.
Oh, yes.
Later
he wants someone to talk to.
She wants someone to talk to, and then later on she wants a skylight in her home.
Yes. Yeah, but that's later.
That's later. But anyway, so they make a deal with Bryaxis, and that's how... So Bryaxis basically kills Hybern's two cronies.
Right, and before the Summer Quarters attack, they realize that... Az realizes that Elaine is a seer, because Elaine keeps repeating stuff, and they realize... And and I think Az didn't realize, because this is the first time Az and Elaine are around when Elaine is talking.
Yes.
So they realize she's a seer, and then this is where Amren's like, Summer Quarters being attacked.
Well, no, they don't find that. Remember, because Amren goes out on the hunt to try to find more of Hybern's forces and doesn't find them. So they're like, oh, it was a fake out, right? And
Amren tells her lover, and then they come right away, right?
Well, Amren's lover tells her.
Oh, I thought it was...
Summer Court. Because Summer Court is being attacked by Hybern.
Okay.
What the fuck was his name? V something.
Varian,
yes.
Varian.
So Varian basically, I love Varian.
I love the fact that this is Amren, this is all powerful Amren.
Yes.
Not Faye.
Stuff of nightmares,
and
right?
she's like, I want you.
She's like, I know. A thing. I like it nasty. I love this.
You're tiny and crazy and fierce, and I want you.
I love your little fierce self. I will do whatever. Let me give you some jewelry.
And here's more sparkles.
Yes, here's some more sparkles.
I know you like sparkles, so here's more sparkles.
God knows I need more of that.
Yes.
Mr. Laurel.
So they rush over to Summer Court.
See, Douglas was trained.
Mr. Laurel is feral. He was completely untrained when I got him, despite this being his second marriage.
Sometimes they learn, sometimes they don't.
Well, Douglas was trained.
But Mr. Laurel was clever enough to be trained by you, yes?
Uh-huh.
I mean, he took you to Paris.
See?
He did.
They'll get trained for the right person. So anyway, they rush to Adriata, and they get there just in time to basically turn Hybern's army back, but also find out that, like, that was also kind of a little bit of a feint, right?
Yes.
Like, Hybern isn't actually there. Hybern is...
a projection.
Astral projecting in.
And Feyre's powers, and, like, she unleashes the gamut of her powers.
Right.
Yes.
So she's like, whoa.
Like, the fact that she has Rhys's dark powers.
Yes. And Tarkin doesn't kill them, but he also basically tells him to get out the fuck out of his house.
Yeah.
He's like,
I won't kill you, but
I won't kill you because you helped me, but also get the fuck out of my house.
And they don't leave right away. They go to the edge.
They linger for a minute.
Because of the Illyrian warriors.
Right.
Yes, they linger for a minute. And then this is when they go back to the Carver. Right?
Oh.
Because
this is when they call the meeting in 3 days.
Oh.
So they leave.
They leave, but they're like, the meeting has to happen.
Yes, they're saying the meeting has to happen. He says, let's change the meeting for 3 days from now. So
this is to go back to the Carver where they give him the chicken leg.
And then they go back to because they don't have anything on them. They literally go from the Summer Court, from Adriata to the prison. Right, because now they're like, we have to know what Hybern is doing. Right, they have to figure out like
because it's coming.
Because it's coming, and they're trying to figure out what they're trying to get ahead of him basically. And they're like, the only thing that would know is the Bone Carver. Right. And so they go, and the Bone Carver's like, I'll tell you, but only if you bring me the Ouroboros mirror, give me your firstborn.
And they're just like, fuck you. Here's a chicken leg from lunch.
She's like, yeah, you know.
And then they go to the meeting, and at this point, they're like, maybe it's time to not present a facade, the image that he has been presenting.
Yeah, Rhys, you need to be you.
Let's not be the High Lord of the Court of Nightmares. Yes. Let us be who we are.
Let it all hang out.
Yes. Quit playing the persona and just be Rhys, right?
She will be the High Lady, and everyone is just who they are in the first.
But they all have their entourage.
They start to meet, and everyone gets together. I love Hellion.
Hellion is amazing.
Another couple friend of ours wanted to do an fake In-N-Out night last week. So they came over and Claire showed up.
Yes.
And we got all drunk and we decided Hellion should be RuPaul.
I think it's a little over the top now that I reread this again.
Yes, but it would be hilarious.
But I think it would still be hilarious.
Like real sexy bi guy.
Yeah.
But RuPaul could pull it off.
Would more want RuPaul?
More likes girls.
But more sleeps with him anyway.
She does sleep with Hellion, and she has before.
Yeah, but we find out later why.
Well, there's more to
why that
Hellion.
is. There's more to that.
Let's keep going.
Yes.
Hellion is an asshole. Thiessen is gay.
He's gay. He has his
partner.
He
has his partner there.
The featherweight
right-hand man. Yeah.
Yes.
Day and dawn, and we've got night. I still don't know where the fuck dusk is.
Tarquin shows up, right?
Tarquin is there.
Yeah, Tarquin is there.
This is where
This
is where the Winter Court King shows up, and his wife is friends with Moore, right?
Callias.
But his wife is good friends with
Moore, like they're besties.
Yes.
Besties. They haven't seen each other in a long time.
And then Baron shows up.
Yes.
And
with the brothers,
with all the sons,
and then of course
and his wife.
Yeah. And then there's
the whole. It's a family outing.
And then Tamilto.
And then Tamlin
shows up by surprise late, right?
And he's like, I was going against Hybern. And it's like, really?
You fucked it up.
You fucked it up.
He's like, really? I've been going against him this whole time.
But then they find out that Feyre's High Lady. And then there's arguments and talking and whatever. But
then there's that horrible stuff that Tamlin says.
Where
Azabat kills him.
No. That's not Tamilto. He does that to Baron. Because the Tamilto shit happens.
Well, but doesn't Tamlin say?
Yeah, Tamlin.
Do you know those sounds she makes when she comes?
But then that's where Rhys demonstrates the full extent of his power.
Yeah, he gets really scary on Tamlin
because they're like, yes, they're all High Lords, but Rhys
is the strongest.
most powerful High Lord ever.
We cannot forget Rhys is scary as shit.
And Rhys is the most powerful High Lord ever, like, in history.
Yeah.
And they've never seen it all
Rhys
out.
is disgustingly cute, but he is also terrifying as shit.
I'm not spoiling anything. There's a whole theory floating around where Rhys is the descendant of 2 courts.
Yes.
Dusk and Night. That's why he's so powerful.
Yes.
He's descendant from High Lords of 2 courts.
Yes.
And I can see it.
I can see it.
The prison falls under his jurisdiction, but so does Illyria. I wonder if one of those was the Dusk Court, you know.
I feel like, because his dad is Night Court, but his mother was Illyrian. I wonder if his mother was full Illyrian.
I wonder. Seemed special. She got out of it. She was like, I'm going to make sure.
And she mated with a High Lord.
Yes.
She did. So. She mated with a High Lord.
But, like, this is where Rhys, like, gets all scary and everyone freaks out, and then more talking happens,
and then Feyre gets scared on Baron.
Well, Tamilto gives all what he knows of Hybern, and then Baron gets all cunty.
Oh, yeah.
And Az is don't speak of my High Lady that way and all scary and starts, like, doing stuff, and then
they have to hold him back.
Feyre gets scary.
Well, Feyre basically kind of, like...
loses... Because he talks shit about Rhys and Amarantha. About being Amarantha's whore.
Oh, okay.
And what he did to Amarantha.
Yes.
And Feyre calms Az down, but then Baron keeps talking shit about Rhys and Amarantha.
Oh.
And Feyre won't take it, and so she unleashes her powers. And she gets...
People realize that she has all of their powers.
Yes.
Not just...
And that she can overpower the High Lords.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like,
But then it's like, what's his face? Autumn, I want my power back. Is he going to try to kill her for his power back?
Well, and then I think, like, Hellion says something about it, and it's like, why?
We all did that willingly.
Yeah, and, like, Feyre talks about it, and, like, the women stand up and talk about it, and finally the guys agree. And then at some point...
we have more power than we did when Amarantha took it.
Yes.
You know.
They end for the day. Does the Nesta calling them out happen that day or the next day?
I don't know. Next day?
I think it's the next day.
It's the next day. It's the next day because they're kind of like...
Because the first day they show who they really are. And then the second day, they show up as High Lord and High Lady of the Court of Nightmares. They come in their Court of Nightmares persona.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
No.
But because they come back the next day, right?
And then Nesta just calls them all out.
Doesn't she just show up because she said she wasn't coming or something?
Yeah, she wasn't going to come, but she realizes because Feyre went and fought for the Summer Court, even though there was no love between them and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want to be seen as a coward. So she's like, I'm going to step up. And at some point during this meeting, Tarquin is also, I rescind the blood rubies.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, good luck getting them back from Amaranth.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm keeping those rubies. But she's holding down the fort, right?
Yeah, she's holding down the fort.
She's holding down the fort.
Reading the book. And, Nesta calls them out. They try to do whatever meetings. Baron walks out.
Yeah, Baron goes home. Baron nopes the fuck off.
Which court has... It's Winter Court that has the antidote for Feyre.
Yes, for the Feyre.
And that's where you find out about Lucian's eyeball being able to see through glamours.
Yes, because he has the friend in the day court, and he's mentioned this. Like, this was not like
it's Winter Court.
Maybe it was Winter Court. Because
they have the antidotes and all the books and all the knowledge.
No, Day Court has all the books.
Is it?
Day Court's the library.
Oh.
But it's
one of the other courts.
Yes, okay. But it's implied in the book that, like, Lucian mentions, he's like, oh, I have a friend in...
Yes, I have a friend in the court.
I thought he said it was Day Court.
That's the one that builds all the stuff.
The one who builds all the stuff.
And that's
Day Court.
I thought
it was Day Court. You're right, it's Day Court.
I thought it was Day Court because he said that I have a friend in Day Court.
Because Winter Court is pissy
for me.
Winter Court's pissy.
Because of all the babies that were killed.
Yes.
As much as Rhys tried to prevent it.
Yes.
Right.
As much as he could within Under the Mountain.
Yes.
Then Feyre gives her speechifying.
Yes.
That's where she's like, I have your magic, but you gave that freely to save me, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
I will stand with all my magic.
Because I saved you all from...
And then all the women stand up.
Well, but she's also basically I'm the only thing that can basically stop.
I will stand.
Without me, you guys can't stop Hybern, right?
And without me, you would have still been stuck under the mountain.
Yes.
And then Wintercourt's mate stands up, and I love her wait, High Lady, like the fact that she's just like,
yes.
High Lady.
Yes.
Why not High Lady?
I love that.
She's a riot.
The wall comes down because Nesta feels it because she's connected.
Okay, but there's something else that we find out in between.
What did I forget?
That. Remember, we find out.
Lucian.
No, Lucian. So
we
yes,
find out about.
we find out about Lucian.
Find out. Well, we skipped
the High Lady of the Winter Court. Right?
She's not High Lady.
No.
Well,
okay.
Lucian
the consort.
Lucian is actually Hellion's kid.
Yes.
So Baron's wife.
Yes.
Had an affair with Hellion.
Because she got kidnapped.
Because Hellion basically saved her
from something.
In the first war.
Right.
And then
so her two sisters, so what's her nuts? Cassandra? Oh shit, what was her name? I can't think of her name, but Baron's wife basically gets...
Her sisters gave her a way to escape.
Yes.
And then
Hellion saves her, and so she basically puts her up until the end of the war.
And they fall in love.
Well, but he puts her up until the end of the war, right? Mm-hmm. So they just fall in love, and the affair goes on for a while. Baron doesn't find out about the affair for a long time.
They continue it.
No one realizes it, that Feyre realizes it.
Yeah.
Because she's seeing it.
Because she's looking at Hellion, and then she hears the story, and she's like, wait.
So she doesn't say anything, and then tells Rhys, and Rhys starts like
oh shit, I've never made that connection before.
So Lucian is technically heir to the Day Court, maybe, but he doesn't have that kind of power. He's not marked by magic as the heir.
Yes.
But but his power is fire, which is Autumn Court.
Autumn Court, yes.
There's a thing going on deleted scenes from romantasy books about that covers this. Like,
do you get marked? Sorry, do you get marked until they die? Don't you get marked as the heir once?
Yes, once they die, right? But sometimes their magic calls it out. So, Cameltoe and Rhys were clear heirs.
Yeah.
From the time they were born.
Yeah.
But, there was a romantasy deleted scenes that was done, and I thought it was fucking hilarious. This is romantasy deleted scenes on Instagram. And it's, Feyre, look, Lucian, I can't sit on this information any longer. Your mother cheated on her husband, so Baron isn't your father. Elaine, jinkies! Lucian, wait. So I'm not the son of a High Lord? Feyre, funnily enough, you are. Lucian, I need you to narrow down who my real father is. Counts off fingers. Tarquin's too young. Callias is too honorable to pursue another male's wife. Thesan only goes for wings.
Thesan is gay, yes.
Tamlin doesn't have the charisma to seduce anyone without my help. And then Baron is... And Elaine is like, I guess it must be... Lucian, turning to Rhys. Papa... Feyre, speaking into Rhys's mind. Here's your opportunity to pull the funniest prank ever. Rhys opening his arms. My child. And I was just like, yes, please.
So anyway, they find that out. Everybody's having dinner. And Nesta's like, my spidey sense is tingling.
Yeah, something's going on.
And, everybody kind of goes and checks it out, right? Because they think that they're going to get attacked there in the Winter Court, right? And they're like, no, nobody's going to get attacked. Like, we're fine. And then they find out...
And then Nesta collapses.
Right.
Well, but Nesta, collapses, and then all of a sudden there's, an earthquake, right? And they realize that the wall has actually come down because...
But that's because she's connected to the cauldron.
Well, she collapses, they take off, and, check, or something, and then she's like, oh, God, it...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they put into production the Fey-Bane or whatever it is, right?
Yes. They prepare for battle.
Oh, well, basically they meet back together in a war council. And Tamlin's kind of pissed because, his whole court has essentially left him.
Right, and so Spring Court gets evacuated to Summer Court.
Gets evacuated to Summer Court, right? Tarquin's like, you're a piece of shit, but, I don't want your people to die, right? So evacuate as many people as you can out of the Spring Court.
Goes, he's
because remember, Hybern is sitting in Tamlin's
territory,
right?
And Autumn doesn't show up, I don't think, does he?
No, but there's...
Because Baron noped the fuck home.
Yeah,
Baron noped the fuck home because he was like, I don't want to deal with this bullshit.
He noped off.
At the same time, Feyre's like, what do we do with immortals? are like...
Yeah, because they're like, oh shit, what about everyone below the wall, right? And so they're like...
That's where I'm from. And
that's where we go back to
and they're like, oh,
yeah.
They're like, oh shit, didn't Elaine's, betrothed have an entire fortress that was meant to keep Faye out?
Can't we move everybody in there?
Yes.
Get him out.
And so they're like, okay, we're gonna go at least try.
And that's where you find out Grayson's a piece of shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Wasn't really the father.
And this is where
he is.
But and this is where poor Elaine basically has to go face the fact that
now hates her because of
the life that she thought that she was going to have.
And but I think she has hope then still.
Yeah, but there's still hope, right? She thinks that Grayson still loves her enough.
Right.
And then surprise, Jurian is playing both sides.
He's still a piece of shit.
Jurian is playing both sides,
right?
And, and Jurian is like, "What? You guys were my friends. I fought beside you all those years ago. Why didn't you look into my mind?"
I'm a human. Yeah, I'm a human. I know you can look into
it. And Rhys is like, I didn't want to see her. Because what's her the missing couple?
Jurian's ex and
Dark
Miriam
and
what's
Dracon?
Dracon was one of the Miriam and Dracon. Yes,
yeah,
you're
Dracon.
Correct. You're correct.
Yeah, my brain goes to Draco, but different universe.
Different universe. Go to Grayson's estate, basically. And he's a piece of shit, and he just basically tells him to fuck off. Yes. He's like, I don't care about you. I don't care about other humans.
And then Jurian is like, well, I could make Hibern.
And then Jurian just magically appears, right? Because he's just, like, been there. I don't know.
He's like, I told them this is what happened.
Yes. Yeah, and then we kind of find out that Jurian has been very badly playing both sides.
At least he keeps the mortal queens away from
at least
the war.
He's consistent in, being kind of an asshole.
He keeps the mortal queens away.
He's doing all of this to get back at an ex.
To get back to an ex.
Yeah.
Two. There is a fair amount of I hate that bitch. But also
I still want her back.
He's angry at her.
I want to apologize.
He wants to apologize, but he's also angry at her. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. So anyway.
Cheated on me and ran off with this other dude.
Well, because he went crazy.
Because he went crazy.
With rage.
Yes. And his eyeball was in Amarantha's ring for a while. That would make anybody crazy.
And the bone in their eyeball.
He had to watch all of this. Yes, he had to watch all of this happen.
And then the first battle happens. And
and Jurian tells him exactly where Hibern is going to be, right? Like, he doesn't pull any punches.
And then Moore and Nesta and Feyre are watching.
Yes.
Elaine is in the tent.
Yeah.
Right? And then this is where Feyre realizes who has been training her this whole time. Cassian, Rhys's general, who, for him, battle is a symphony.
Because he seems like this very Joey from Friends character, but then when he's fighting...
But this is where Claire and I agree, if you watch enough of Supernatural, Jensen Ackles playing Dean fits Cassian.
We talked about that fan casting, and now I just see Jensen Ackles when I read Cassian.
Because the character of Dean in Supernatural is very much Cassian.
But Jensen Ackles also has an incredible amount of range.
Yes. So, Supernatural, when Dean isn't fighting, he's goofy and silly and very, like...
Jensen Ackles can play kind of like that older brother character, but he can also like really dig in deep and get into this really dark place.
I'm gonna have to look up his face because I don't watch that. Let's see.
Put him in a blonde, like long wig.
Yeah, and his hair is growing out right now, but like, and he's a dirty blonde brunette.
Yeah, but he has the size. And
he has the personality and the height and the size to fit Cass. And then when he's in his hunter like full battle phase as Dean. It's like very Cass.
I don't know. I'd have to see that.
Because Jensen's also done. Who does he play in The Boys?
He was Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy in The Boys. Like he's done a lot of other stuff. But Jensen's got a like surprising range.
He's got really good range. Like maybe the look can be tweaked.
Maybe.
But he's kind of got like the blonde. He's got the blonde hair.
He's got the size and the personality to fit it.
Yeah.
And his look could fit it.
Yes.
As an Amber,
Channing Tatum is a little too doofy. I'm like looking over at our fan casting. Yeah. Channing Tatum is almost a little too doofy.
I think he's completely doofy until he's fighting.
Yeah, everyone, but see, if you watch X-Men and Wolverine, then you lose it.
Yeah, no. Him as Gambit and X-Men and Wolverine, it's just gone. It's just gone.
And he was 21 Jump Street. Like, he's...
Channing Tatum is a little too underwear model, and, like, and this is nothing against Channing Tatum. I like Channing Tatum. Mm-hmm. Like, I think he's an excellent actor. I just don't think that he's quite that right amount of, like...
He doesn't have that switch.
He doesn't. Well, but Cassian also, we have to remember, is a little bit of a chameleon. Cassian kind of shows... a little, and he's a little insecure, so he's kind of showing everybody the side of him that he thinks that they want to see, right? And not that Channing Tatum couldn't do that, but I think Jensen Ackles has the subtlety of that range to do that a little bit better.
Just don't.
It's because
look at him though.
But it's only because if you watch more into Supernatural,
like if you watch Supernatural, him as Dean,
deep into Supernatural fandom, you can see where
he comes off like Cassian comes off as a little bit of like Dean, and Dean is like when you think about it, really actually also a profoundly insecure character, right?
Because of the fuck ups, because his dad fucked him up.
Yes,
and he lives to protect his brother.
Who do we have?
But we don't have anything for Elaine because she's hard.
I haven't thought of anybody for Elaine yet.
Aquaman.
Az is still hard.
We talked
Jason
about
Momoa
Jason Momoa
for Az.
We thought about him for Az, but he's too...
I was thinking more Cassian.
He doesn't have the look.
But he doesn't look like Cassian.
But he's big, he's a fighter, and he can be silly, and then he can...
He could, but
Which is why I think he would surprise us as Az.
Oh.
Because, and I say that because he did Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that was really good.
Momoa could be Az.
And then you, like, look at him in some unhinged thing like The Fast and the Furious, and you're like, what the fuck?
At it.
I just saw Minecraft movie.
Like, I think.
Oh, yeah, totally unrelated. He crocheted sweaters for Jack Black.
Yes! I think Jason Momoa would surprise us.
I think you're right. Now that we think
about it. Only because he's done Khal Drogo.
Yes.
Right? So he can do and he's fucking huge. And like Az comes off as just like fucking huge. He's huge. Okay? But like Jason Momoa also kind of has that big dick energy too. If you know what I mean.
He does.
So does.
But he can turn it on and he can turn it off, right?
Yeah,
like he can do
really
the thing like Khal Drogo, and then he can do something utterly ridiculous like the Minecraft movie.
You know, the more we think about it, I think Momoa
he'd be a good Batboy.
Yes,
he would be an excellent Batboy.
I think you're right. Him as Az.
And I think he would play off of Jensen Ackles
really well. Perfect.
I think he would play off of him really well.
The three of them playing together.
Yes.
The Az and Cass?
Yeah.
Yes. With
Cavill?
I kind of want to put the three of them together and see what happens.
Yeah, okay.
Because when I say Rhysand, I'm thinking of Geralt Rhysand.
Yes. So, our Batboys.
I'm taking no notes on him.
Okay, our set Batboys are going to be Henry Cavill as Rhysand.
Oh, yes.
This is Geralt, Witcher Henry Cavill as Rhysand.
Yes.
Jensen Ackles is his Dean supernatural persona as the Winchester boy. And then Azrael is going to be Joseph Momoa as a merge of his Fast and the Furious craziness with his Khal Drogo seriousness.
Yeah.
Yes.
These are our Batboys.
Because the only one who's bigger than Jason Momoa is like The Rock.
Right.
And The Rock always plays The Rock.
And Rock, you like any Rock movie that you see, and this is nothing against The Rock.
No. Because he was fantastic in Jumanji.
You were seeing The Rock playing
The Rock.
The Rock. Right? You get The Rock as character name, right? Like Dwayne Johnson does not disappear into a character. And Jason
Momoa, neither does Jack Black. Jack Black is playing the same character.
Okay, but Jack Black. You hire Jack Black to get Jack Black.
Well, no. Okay. Have you seen the new Jumanji?
No, but I saw the Minecraft movie.
No. Jack Black in Jumanji
plays a woman.
Plays a teenage cheerleader. In Jack Black's
body. But it's Jack Black, right? It is still Jack Black.
It is still, but he does it beautifully.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got our Batboys.
Yeah, no, I will not be taking notes on because like I said, I feel like, but Jason Momoa has the look. He's tall and he's big and he's dark.
Him and Henry Cavill are about.
And Henry Cavill can get fucking big, man. Mm-hmm. Okay,
do you not remember Superman?
Yes. So like
or
the Batboys.
The double loading of his arms in the Tom Cruise the Mission Impossible.
But I also think of shit. What was that one World War II movie we went to see?
Ungentlemanly warfare.
Ungentlemanly warfare.
Cavill could do Rhys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think of Cavill as like Geralt, like a combination of Geralt and whoever he played in Ungentlemanly Warfare, right? And that's Rhys because Cavill has range, right? Cavill has range. Cavill can do that quiet, and I think that like having seen him play
and the grunting, he can teach Momoa. No, Momoa doesn't need to learn the grunting because the grunting he doesn't as Drogo.
Yes. Like, but that's what I'm saying, is that Momoa can play that, like, silent character and then just, like, drop a zinger kind of thing, which is sort of how Az is, right? And I almost kind of want Jason Momoa to add a little snark to Az, because I think, like, I want Az's sort of, like, stream of consciousness to come out a little more sometimes.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some of it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we haven't
I think
in
those
a movie
boys together would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think that I genuinely, like, and now that like I said, now that I'm rereading this again after we've kind of fan cast Jensen Ackles, I'm seeing Jensen Ackles basically in a really long wig, right? Which is kind of
Jensen
ridiculous.
Ackles, Dean Winchester
Which
persona.
is kind of ridiculous, right?
He does try to avoid playing a lot, especially in The Boys, because it's the same creator.
Yes,
for
it's Eric Kripke.
Kripke does Supernatural, the first 5 seasons of Supernatural, and The Boys. And The Boys is super unhinged.
Anyhow, back on top. And now that we've chosen our Bat Boys,
we fan casted our Bat Boys.
Now that we've chosen the Bat Boys,
I love that Feyre is like, oh my god, this is who has been training me. It's Cassian.
Yes.
She sees him in action.
Yeah, and realizes,
and he's scary. Yes.
And like this is for him, death is a dance. It's a symphony. Yes. And the way that that Sarah J. Maas describes that is beautiful.
Yes.
Because it's sad, but it's true. Is that the best people for that role are going to be the people who see death and war as a dance, as a symphony.
Yeah, but sometimes, like, the best people have a side that you don't realize...
Yes.
The full grasp of. Yes. Right? Like, she knows logically, like, they don't pull any punches, right? Mm-hmm. They're not like, oh, yeah, no, we've just been standing around in Valaris making daisy chains for, 500 years, right? Like, no. And, like, and you find out in the second book, right? Like, that it was just kind of...
And because they talk about going on the blood right, and you get more details.
Yes, but you also have to realize that, like, Az and Cassian were not just, like, handed these positions,
right? They clawed and fought and...
Like, they had to fight, right?
Too.
Yeah, Rhys
they weren't on equal footing when they started. Yes. They did this together.
All 3 Bat Boys were looked down upon for various reasons.
For different reasons.
But they also don't take any of this lightly.
No.
Right? No. Like, they don't take any of this lightly. They don't just kind of be like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to go chop some heads off, right?
Mm-hmm. No. Because they've done this before. They've been dealing with the consequences of a war.
They prefer peace.
Yeah, they've been dealing with the consequences and the trauma of war.
They have perfected war.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like the Lannister approach to, gaining, power and notoriety,
power.
Right?
None of the Black Boys want power.
No, they don't, but
which is beautiful.
But they are also self-aware that they're very good at what they do, but at the same time, like, they also know that they're in a position of power, and they don't take it lightly.
This is not the book to talk about it. Book 5 is where I talk about it.
Yes,
what
we'll
I want
talk about
Book
5. Yeah.
I don't know. That reminds me of, like, my father-in-law. He went to war at a young age, and he did it into his, like, young adult life. And he, like, you wouldn't expect him to be someone that was a badass. Like, he's someone that, he's, like, calm and peaceful.
When I met your dad, he was such a sweetheart. But, like, again, he's the type of person who's that switch flips.
Yes.
It's just, like, relaxed and, like, and you're like, what did he do when he was young?
Yes.
Well, that's why he's like
and
a
I have a family member who served in the Navy, right?
Yeah,
and
my father-in-law was.
They can turn it on, man.
All the really scary military guys that I've met are sweethearts.
Well, because they don't need to posture.
No, they don't.
They don't want that in their life when they don't have
because they've seen so much.
But they will get scary if they need. They know how to turn it on.
They prefer peace.
Yes. They know how to turn it on, right?
Well, isn't that the thing? In a different fantasy book, and all the other fantasy books, like Lord of the Rings, Aragorn doesn't want to be king.
No.
But that's kind of like, but that's a little bit implied that, like, that's why he's such a good candidate for it.
Right. The ones that don't want the power that
he does it when he has to.
It's all of these fantasy novels, or Ender's Game even. Ender never wanted.
No, he didn't.
But he was the best at, because he's a military prodigy as a child. Like, all of the fantasy novels that you read, Eddings series.
Yes.
Garion never wanted to be king. He wasn't raised to be king.
No.
Sparhawk becomes king.
Yes.
And he's like, I'm a knight. This is not... I'm king consort. I don't... Yes. This is
But that is the classic hero's journey arc, too.
Exactly. Right? But that's why it works. Because, they don't want it. Because to get there, you have a very bloody path.
Yes, to get there, you have...
bloody path.
There's a lot that has to happen to get there, right? And it's also, those that are sort of handed that power end up, to some extent, like...
Camel toe.
Well, yeah, but I'm thinking more of, like, Game of Thrones is a classic example of that, right? Where, like... Joffrey Baratheon, right, is just you get it handed to you and you take it for granted. Right? But Ned Stark is kind of like standing around being like, what the actual fuck, guys? Right? And he gets killed for it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the beauty of the hero's arc.
Yes.
And there's a reason it's the hero's arc. It always works.
Yes.
But even in, like, actual real history, like, that's my thing when I'm, reading nonfiction. A lot of those, the older sons are dickheads, or they die for whatever reason going on, on the white ship, or whatever happens, someone else ends up being a younger son, King Henry VIII. He wasn't trained. He wasn't going to be king. Arthur was going to be king. Like, someone else was going to be king, and they got thrown into it when they were trained to be in the military, or they were trained to go into the church, or whatever. Yes. And that sometimes ends up well, and sometimes it doesn't.
Or you get the younger son.
The younger son wasn't supposed to be. They're not trained, or...
And the younger son becomes power hungry. I mean, Stephen King's Eye of the Dragon.
Yeah.
If you study Eleanor of Aquitaine's history.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Her youngest son, it was Prince John.
Yes. Right. He wanted it.
His older brother was Richard the Lionheart.
Yep.
Well, he wasn't the oldest originally.
No, Richard the Lionheart was not the oldest. He was like the second youngest.
He was the second.
But all of her other kids died.
Yes.
Because of various England and France situation.
Yes.
She was a badass.
Oh, yeah. She was. Oh, yeah. She was awesome.
Yeah.
They, totally unratated to this. We'll come back to it. This is us, guys.
We'll get back on track.
We sidetrack and deviate.
This is tangentially related to, like, what basically the point we're trying to make with this.
There are 3 fiction novels that are about Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Like, just realistic fiction? Mm-hmm. I love Eleanor of Aquitaine.
You're going to tell me, and I'm going to remember which ones they are.
I keep bookmarking them and wanting to read them on my TBR list, and I just keep forgetting. Okay, so it starts with the Summer Queen.
Who's it by?
Elizabeth Chadwick. So it's the Summer Queen, the Winter Crown, and the Autumn Throne. And
I might have to read it.
I keep wanting to buy the books and read it, which I should just buy them, because I love the story of Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Well, I'm a big, like... Yeah,
historical
French
fiction
in English, monarchy, fiction and nonfiction.
Yes.
Should we get back to the book?
We'll get there.
Yeah, we should probably get back to on topic here. We're almost done.
Okay. We're almost done.
We're like so close.
So the first battle happened.
Quarter of the book.
So the first battle happened.
Yes. In typical Sarah J. Maas book in the last 200 pages.
Everything happens at the last 10%
of
the book.
And this is where, Feyre realizes what Cass was.
Yeah.
His battle.
Well, yeah, I mean, you kind of get as because it's just kind of like
a
brooding.
And then they move around. There's a second battle, and then this is where you see Feyre and Rhys are very similar, where they don't communicate. Like, if Rhys, I think, told more about letting Keir into Valaris, it might have gone better before it happened. Mm-hmm. This is, again, where we see it mirrors in Feyre, where she forces more into the battle because Az falls,
and she basically tells more. But
you have to go help because Cassian can't get there.
You have to go help, right?
Feyre goes and finds the Suriel again.
Yes.
Well, she goes to try to find the Suriel, and she runs into Ianthe instead.
Well, Suriel shows up and tells her
the Suriel. Yes, that's
tells
right.
her where Hybern might be, or this is how you need to find. This is how you do it. Nesta needs to scry.
Yes.
Tells her about the Ouroboros mirror.
Yes.
Why do people go crazy? It's because it reflects who you really are deep. Yes. Mm-hmm. And most people can't accept that.
Can't handle it.
And then Ianthe shows up.
Yes.
Right.
And like
mortally wounds the
Suriel. And tells Feyre, hey, the Suriel, I gave her this cloak to try to get it. Why does the Suriel only talk to you? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
She's like, because I'm not a piece of shit.
Feyre
runs into the Weaver's
She
cottage.
tries to protect the Suriel.
But she runs into the Weaver's. The Suriel's like, no.
Let me die. Go.
Yeah, go. Go save yourself. Basically.
And Feyre's like, no. But
the Weaver's like, bring your friend in.
Well, Feyre runs to the Weaver, and this is in the middle where the magic and the forest.
Right. Yes, and the Weaver's like, I know you stole from me, right? And she's like, haha, yeah, I sure did, right?
And then Ianthe's following, and then the Weaver and Ianthe.
She's like, you have somebody to help you in there.
and the Weaver was
and Feyre's like, I brought you some snacks.
Feyre,
I love that part.
I was like, I brought you dinner. And then she goes back to the cereal and stays with it until it dies.
Because the cereal's like, I want you to stay with me until I die. Well, but the cereal also
the cereal was like, no, go save yourself. Don't try to save me. And then Feyre goes back and still tries to save it. And Cereal's like, your magic is depleted. Don't save me, but leave the world better than you found it.
Yes. And also stay with Rhys.
The Cereal reiterates, stay with the High Lord. And then the other thing is, the Cereal's like, I knew the cloak was enchanted. Like, I knew this. And Feyre's like, why did you come back? And he's like, because you were kind.
Yes.
So she's weeping, and then Hellion shows up.
And takes her back to camp.
And then
Rhys is losing his shit.
Moore is pissed.
To be fair, Moore is pissed.
Because she's run off, and they don't know where she is.
Well, because Moore realizes that she's basically, like, become... You know, she's taken the fall for this, right? Because, Feyre's
the High Lady just fucking disappeared.
Yeah. Right? And then she comes back and, Feyre's gone.
Everyone's pissed.
But it's a little bit of that, like, Feyre, I think, doesn't fully grasp the weight of
being a High Lady.
Of being a High Lady, right?
No, she doesn't.
And Rhys is kind of like, you can't fuck it up like this, dude. And it's Cass who actually ends up telling her, right?
But earlier on, why Cass is so mad because of the spring court.
Why Cass is so mad, right?
Because when they're training, when she first starts training with Cass,
yeah,
after she gets back from the spring court,
because Cass is like,
he's so mad because they didn't tell everyone, and he's like,
that's right.
You and Rhys protect each other, but as as his mate, but as our High Lady, you belong to us as well.
Right, you belong to all of us.
Yes.
We're.
So anyway, she gets back. Az has been hurt. Az has been hurt really bad. I think this is where Az gets hurt.
Yeah, Az is hurt really, really bad.
So basically, Az gets grounded, which he takes just as well as
any warrior does,
which is not so great.
Which is not well at all. And then Moore loses her shit, and they get into a fight. And this is where Feyre almost is like, "Look, admit it to yourself and everyone else that you prefer women to men." You're bisexual, but you love...
More...
Well,
Feyre kind of corners her and Moore kind of, like, pawns it off, and then Moore takes her into the woods.
She doesn't admit it.
Yeah, and then Moore takes her into the woods and is like, I don't want to be public about this because it's kind of just
when they make up later.
Yes.
No, I think they don't talk about it until the novella.
Oh.
No, it's in here. It's in this book, yes. It is in this book, yes.
Is it after?
It's after the battle, right? Because Feyre can't quite figure out why Moore is kind of being a little bit squirrely about it.
Is it before the final battle?
It's before the final battle. It's before the final battle because it freaks Moore out, right? Like, kind of scares.
Because Feyre sees enough of the truth.
And but she basically calls Moore on her bullshit, right? Because she kind of thinks that Moore has been stringing Az along this whole time.
Yeah,
right. She hasn't figured out that Moore prefers women. Moore hasn't admitted it yet.
Yes.
And then Amryn shows up, is like, well, when I'm never around,
she's like, why do you guys fuck up so bad every time I leave?
And she shows up with the rocks and bones, the scrying tools.
Yes, she shows up with the scrying tools.
But that goes pretty poorly the first time she scries, doesn't it?
Well, Nesta goes too deep.
No, Nesta goes too deep.
And Feyre is in her mind helping.
Nesta goes too deep, and basically
the cauldron sees her.
The cauldron, but they connect to each other, right? So Nesta can see the cauldron, but the cauldron can also see where they are.
Well, she went too deep, so the cauldron can see back. Yes. And then... So Feyre is able to knock it loose.
And they come, so Feyre is able to...
They go to sleep and whatever.
Is that when they call for the sister?
That's when Elaine gets taken.
That's when they realize that Elaine has been kidnapped.
Because they wake up from a nightmare and then...
Because again, the cauldron could see them and
knew where they were.
Send his cronies in to take Elaine.
And everyone realized how much Elaine meant and all that shit. And then, so they take Elaine and then Nessa's catatonic and frozen because she's freaking like, what the hell?
Yes.
And Az is like, I'll go, and Feyre's like, I'll go with you, and they're like, you can't just storm it. And Feyre's like, no, I'm gonna walk it, and transforms.
Yes.
Into Ianthe. She takes Az is the blue bat boy.
Az is the blue bat boy. So she takes one of
his siphons.
So she takes one of his siphons to make a little circlet.
And because she has that gem on her.
They walk in, and Jurian sees.
And they're the only ones that know Ianthe's dead. So
Jurian sees. And Jurian is like...
And Jurian's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Right. Jurian knows that Ianthe is dead.
Yes.
As is Shadow Slinger.
Yes.
And Jurian is like, you have to flirt. Ianthe's been trying to get in my pants. Elaine is in this tent. And Feyre is like, there's another girl there. We have to save her. And Jurian is like, I'll do what I can. Meet me here. Yes. And run. If I'm not there, just leave.
Just leave.
And so they go and they get Elaine.
Yep.
And then shit goes to hell.
Yeah.
Shit goes sideways.
They run to the cliff, and Jurian has left the girl there.
And Tamilto does something marginally helpful, out of spite.
Yeah.
Well, and then they're running with the girl.
They're running with the girl.
And Elaine, and then they hear rustling, and they don't realize it's Tamilto.
They don't realize that it's Tamilto, and then
Feyre gets cornered by Hybern.
Feyre gets hit with the ash arrow.
And they get cornered by Hybern, but they have to fly.
They're going to fly off, and
Az get wings, and so Az is coaching her how to fly in the air.
Yes.
And Tamilto is like blowing or fighting, giving her a chance to go.
Tamlin's in his wolf form.
His weird lion beast.
His beast form, right?
Beastie lion.
Yes, in his beast form.
Golden lion horns.
And trying to give her time to get out.
It gives her time to get out, basically. Well, so basically, Feyre gets cornered by Hybern's hounds.
And then,
so Talon buys her time to get out.
Buys her time and then, sends some wind magic or something.
But I feel like he was like, I told you I was still on your side.
But
there was a little, there was a little bit of, self-redemption, but also he only did it out of spite kind of thing.
He's like, I told you so. And he did it because, I told you.
Yes.
I told you I was doing the right thing.
And this is where the story about, what's the Miriam's best friend? Nefel, there we go. With a small wingspan and saves Miriam.
Yes.
This is where the story.
This is where that story
gets told, and then this is where it foreshadows. This is what it foreshadows.
Yes. Oh.
Is where even an hour
because she's
extra,
not sure that she's quite strong enough to fly all the way back to camp.
But she was weak and she did it.
But Az was telling the story to her back in the beginning when he first started training.
Back when they first started training.
And about this person, and Feyre latches on, and so they do that. They get back to camp. Az collapses. The mortal girl or human girl or fae girl.
Because when they show up in camp, there are other female women there that Hybern's basically torturing.
And this one person
and there's one girl who's still alive, and Feyre's like, we got to take her, and that's Jurian helps the girl get out, right? So Jurian's like, you go get Elaine, I'll go get the girl. I'm gonna meet you.
If I'm not there, don't come back.
Don't come back, leave, right? Just leave.
And so Az is hurt.
This is where Az gets grounded. That's correct.
They get to camp. He collapses.
Yeah,
fixing him.
The girl they say that's not Elaine offers scraps of her to try to help.
Yes,
even though it's Ashley.
Briar, I think was her name.
Mm-hmm.
This is where Moore pulls Feyre aside.
After this,
and is like,
where Thiessen and Hellion show up to help with breaking the chains and healing.
Yes.
And then there's a really sweet scene where the sisters are crawling to bed together. They used to do as mortals.
Yes.
Okay.
And then after this is where Moore takes Feyre aside and tells her, I prefer ladies to men, I'm bi.
And Feyre's like, but you slept with Hellion, and she's like, yeah, it's kind of like my backhanded way of reminding Az.
I like men too, but I prefer women.
I love women.
Yes.
I like men
she
too,
fell in love with a human queen in the first war.
But this is my way of saying, I'm not yours.
Moore is bi, but if she had to choose her life partner, it would be a woman.
Yeah, her life partners are women.
Yes.
And somebody is the descendant of her lover, right?
One of the queens.
One of the queens is the descendant of her lover. Yes. Because in the war, Moore kind of realized, and it was kind of one of those, Moore realized that it wasn't exactly such a bad thing. Basically it was Moore in the war basically realized that she wasn't so
into men.
Different. Well, but it wasn't a bad thing, right? No. Moore didn't know that was really a thing until she saw it.
Until she saw it.
But also, there's a fair amount of, and I could see where Sarah J. Maas was doing this too, right? Moore comes out of a place where preserving your bloodline is of utmost importance.
Yes.
So it was very much not okay for her to be into a woman where she could not consummate the relationship
and make babies,
bear a child to continue the bloodline.
Right, because she comes from a celebrated household.
Because she's the leader of the Court of Nightmares.
That's why she was supposed to be with Eris.
Because Nefel was somebody's lover. Nefel was like a map maker of some sort, and that was kind of where Az's story came in. But Nefel's lover was also a woman and more saw her in the war and was like, oh, that's okay. That's a thing that I can be, right? And it's kind of one of those, like, that puzzle piece clicked into place for her, right? Of like, oh, this is who I am. And it's okay for me to be able to go both ways, but it's also okay for me to... I think
Feyre was like, oh, that's why you go to that bar all the time?
Yeah, so there's like, so there's a gay bar.
Yeah,
there's a gay bar in Valaris.
Rita's.
And they all go, Rita's. And they all go there to hang, but she goes there a lot.
Well, yeah, but she's like, Valaris is a haven for people like me. Rita's, the owner, is a lot like me. We all go there without anyone ever really picking up on it, right? So, like, they're going to a bar, but that's also a safe place for
gay people.
Yeah, for people, you know.
And that's why it was so upsetting to her that her father and his cronies could come to Valaris.
Yes.
Like, that's her haven.
And her lover's name was Andromache?
Andromache was the Golden Queen's ancestor.
Yes. And she's like, you know, her bloodline still continues. She had 5 children, right? So Mor had a relationship with this woman, and she was a human, and she went back to the human basically south of the wall. Yeah. And bore children and continued her bloodline, and so that is where the Golden Queen...
But the Golden Queen got killed, so that
so that bloodline is done now.
From that angle.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, she had 5 children then.
Yes. Then we move on to all the spies. Everyone except for Spring and Autumn have showed up to fight.
But Spring has a reason
because Spring is fucking camel toe.
But remember... Spring left, but Tamlin is also otherwise occupied in Hybern's camp now. Yes.
And now Hybern knows that he's a traitor.
So the camel toes disappeared. They're trying to figure out what's going on with Hybern, and they're like, why is Hybern not going around? And then they finally realize Hybern's a petty bitch. He's a petty fucker, man. Petty bitch. He's like, I'm going to go attack the humans because these humans turned Fae, stole everything from me. You know, Feyre killed her.
But he's also basically kind of trying to, like, hit them at the knees because he knows that Rhys is... you know, has a soft spot for the humans.
Because he knows that
Feyre. You know, because Feyre was formerly human. Her sisters...
But he also fought with the humans the first time around.
Returned, yes.
And so, like...
in the first war.
Yeah, Hybern, like, honestly, if he didn't attack the humans, I feel like he could have done so much better. But he went...
Yeah, but Hybern is a little bit like Cersei Lannister in that he's kind of, like, mostly in it for power and the throwing it around as opposed to, like, actually, like, maintaining it.
He could have been so much more successful if he,
just kept...
He could have been if he wasn't an idiot, basically, yeah.
So they talk about the humans, and so they're going to winnow the humans away, and then Wintercourt... What is his fucker's name?
Thesan?
No, Wintercourt... Callias?
Oh, yeah, Callias.
Is, like, wasting it on winnowing humans, and Feyre's like, bitch, I was a human when I saved you guys from Amarantha.
Right.
How is that a waste? If Rhys didn't save me, you guys still be trapped.
Right.
And Vivian was like, fuck you, mate.
Yes.
Like, are you shitting me?
What the hell is wrong with you, asshole?
And then Amryn is like, I hope you voted to go against Hybern, because I found a way to stop it.
But as much as, like... he can be a real dickhead. She calls him on it, and they love each other. And like, they're a good partner.
Vivian will call him on it, and he will adjust.
She calls him on his bullshit, and he's like,
anytime a female calls him on his bullshit, he thinks about it and like adjusts if it makes sense.
So even though he's a dickhead, I still like him.
Yes, because he thinks and changes.
He reminds me of Mr. Laurel. I love him.
Kind of an asshole sometimes.
But sometimes you have to call him on it, and then he's really good about adjusting.
Yes.
And I like that about him.
Yes. Anyway, so
Amryn has like figured out the whole thing. And
Amryn says she's figured out how to stop the cauldron.
But all the people that have been made need to touch it. All the sisters need to touch it.
What are they touching?
Well, they happen.
Are we touching?
The cauldron.
Oh.
And this is where, at this point...
I don't remember this part.
But so Amryn's like, we all have to touch the cauldron, but Feyre's like, hold on a second, I gotta go do something first.
There's some shit so she goes and...
So she goes and gets the Ouroboros mirror.
She goes to the
she runs off and gets the
and goes and picks up the bone carver.
And she is the only person who's in Millennia...
She has a moment, and then she goes to get...
That looks in the mirror and doesn't go crazy. And accepts all of it.
She accepts herself.
Good, bad, all the dark.
Because she's like, yes, this is me. All this stuff is me.
Yep.
And then she's like, here you go, bone carver. He's like, damn.
He gives it to her, and he's like, how? What did you see?
Oh, yeah, and the bone carver was like, well, but the
now
was
you
attached.
have...
And he doesn't want to tell her.
Bryaxis and the bone carver.
I love this because the carver is like, it didn't matter to me if I didn't need the mirror. I just needed to know it was somebody I could fight for.
Yeah, he was basically like, I need, if I'm going to go into this. And I think there was a little self-awareness there for him as well.
The whole sword in the stone, are you worthy?
But again, he is death, and I wonder if he's always known that this is, like, to some extent, how he's going to meet his death, and he wants it to be worth it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And so she does that, then stuff happens. Feyre talks to Baraxis before they leave Valeris.
Yes,
and that's when Baraxis, she's like, so what do you need in order for you to come help us? And he's like, I want a window in the library so I can see outside.
I want a big skylight. I want you to reconstruct.
He says, I want to see the sun, the sky, and the stars.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Amren's like, just give him a window.
Just give him a window.
And then she gets her tattoo
describing a window.
because they
makes
make
a deal.
and she gets a beautiful tattoo.
And then so they get all situated, and then Rhys makes a speech.
Things happen.
Feyre's like, I never got you a mating present. And Rhys is like, what do you mean? And then she breaks the glamour and you see the Carver and Baraxis.
Yes.
And then Rhys is like...
Surprise, motherfucker!
She's like, surprise! And Rhys is like, God damn it, you beat me again. Surprise! And the Weaver is there.
The Weaver, Baraxis,
you and your
the Bone
friends.
Carver. You
and your little band of misfit, terrifying eldritch things. From my actual nightmares.
And Cassian's like, oh shit!
Everyone is like, it's
because he's terrified of Baraxis.
He is terrified of Baraxis.
There's like, oh my god, there's Baraxis. Oh my
god,
she's
on our side.
And there's the Bone Carver and the Weaver, and everyone's
just like, what the fuck, man?
All of the people of all the other courts are just like, what is happening? Why are we finding all of these? Why are these scary things here?
Yes, and then everybody shows up.
Everybody shows
up. It's a party.
But the Weaver and the Bone Carver take out a shit ton.
Yes.
After we do the battle, Baron and Tamlin show up. Oh.
Yeah.
And Grayson shows up.
Baron shows up.
Yes. Baron shows up because Tamlin essentially pulled him.
Drags him out.
Yeah.
With,
who drags him out?
Tamilto.
And Jurian is leading the human army.
Yes.
That he was able to rally from the Graysons.
Mm-hmm.
Grayson and father, Nelson.
Yep.
All of a sudden, Draken and Miriam show up with another human army.
Yes.
And Lucian.
And we're like, who is that?
And they realize it's the Acheron sisters' father.
Yes.
It's Daddy Acheron.
And they're like, Dad that was hobbling around and never did squat for us.
And Vasa is like, Daddy negotiated Vasa's release as the Firebird.
Yes.
And Lucian runs into them and drags them back. And so they all join the battle.
Lucian tells them where to go.
Yes.
Dad kind of runs.
Archer,
Mr. Archer.
He shows he's the Prince of Merchants and negotiates it all.
Yes.
The girls go for the cauldron.
But then
Hybern gets the Weaver and the Bone Carver.
And they both die.
And go bye-bye.
Both die. Yeah.
Nesta tries to be the decoy.
Yes, and they go and find...
And Cassian is there.
Yes.
And then Elaine is there, but Elaine hangs back. And she has been given Az's special sword.
Yes.
Which name I
Elaine
can't remember.
takes Az's sword.
But it has a special name.
And he only has never let anyone
anyone
like touch it.
And then Hybern
gets Daddy Archer on.
Well, Nesta unleashes her power, but it doesn't do anything because Hybern can dodge it. And Daddy Archeron is there after that.
Yes.
Don't touch my child, but then Hybern kills him, breaks his neck. And the sound, they describe the sound in detail.
Yes.
There's a reason for it, you'll find out in the next book. Or
in the fifth book.
Hybern's about to kill Cass and Ness. And this is where very candid, very I want you speeches happen from Cass and Ness. They will die together.
Yes.
And then sweet, sweet Elaine takes
Hybern's head, right?
Takes Az's sword that he gave her and stabs him through the neck.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
And Elaine takes it and just finishes the job and is holding his head. Everyone's watching. Amren is like, stupid girl, Feyre, go to the cauldron.
Go to the cauldron.
Yep.
Feyre got to the cauldron before the Hybern situation.
Feyre got to the Hybern.
And she stuck to it.
It's the first one there and she stuck to it.
Amren is
basically has to watch all of this happen.
Right, and she's like, Amren betrayed us.
Yeah, what was that about again? It's been a while.
Because she stuck to the cauldron.
Oh, yeah.
And she can't do anything.
But Amren kind of, like, left out the part where once you touch the cauldron, you can't, like, escape its power,
she didn't
basically.
know that part.
Well, Amren knew. But then after all of the Highborns gets killed and stuff, Amren tells Feyre, no, what the Suriel told you wasn't how to end Highborn and unleash the cauldron. It was how to release me.
Yes.
And her elemental god angel powers.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Amren and Feyre's like, no, what happens? Like, you unleash me, I don't remember. And Feyre's like, we can't. Varian shows up. He's like, don't do this.
She's like, I'm not going to remember you guys.
Yeah, Varian's like, don't do it.
Because Varian has figured it out for himself.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So there's no other way.
Varian's probably known for a while now.
Yeah. And then so.
But he still loves her.
Yes. And they finally do it. So Amren is unleashed.
She, like, basically just, like...
Feyre mind talks to Rhys, and Rhys spreads it and
fucks
fucks everything.
But
she just wipes it out.
Bryaxis
is still
has fucked off.
Uh-huh.
And then the cauldron breaks. And this is... and the world is starting to fall apart. Because the cauldron is the fabric of the universe.
Yeah, but because it's
Rhys,
tied to her and it's breaking...
And Rhys, because she's maid, and her sisters are all maid, and Rhys shows up and is like, you are of both worlds, you can put it back together.
Yes.
So she starts to do it, and then she doesn't have enough power, so Rhys gives her his power.
Yes.
And it succeeds, and she turns around, and her May has died.
Right.
Yes.
And so
because he gave everything he had.
He gave everything.
And so he basically always gives everything.
And
so he basically burned himself out.
Yes. Yeah. And this is another Suriel stay with the High Lord situation.
Yes.
And so she holds on to the mating bond and screams
that thread
and screams at all the High Lords, and so they all give a drop of power
to basically do a parallel of what they did to her.
Right. And then they show her how to do it, and then Tamilto shows up, and she's begging, and he is like,
Tamlin shows
be
up
happy.
And Tamlin's just like, yeah, be happy.
Rhys wakes up and is like, I did not take anybody's power, bitches. War ends. It's convening. Feyre meets Miriam. Draken hears about Nefel. Tells them to take the cauldron.
Yeah, he tells Feyre to be happy. Yeah, and
take
so then she meets Miriam.
Hide it.
Yeah, she takes Miriam, and she basically gets Miriam and Dracon to agree to take it because they're like,
because you can't see their island.
They're like, yeah, our glamour might have been a little bit too good because we like told everybody to go home instead of just like the people we didn't want to have there.
And that's why they only showed up because they heard the rumors of the war.
We like panicked and came as fast as we could when we realized what was happening.
Right, no one told us.
They had no idea.
Feyre convenes a council of humans and Fae. And
at her old house. Not her house, the mansion.
At the manor
that Tamilto gave her family.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, it kind of falls apart, but they still try something.
Yeah.
And then they talk to Vasa.
And, Vasa shows up and asks, I came because...
If Elaine can break her curse.
Well, if Feyre can break the curse.
If Feyre can break the
unfortunately offends all of the girls because your father was a father to me. And the girls were like, he was never a father
he was an asshole.
Kind of deal.
He wasn't a father to us.
Yes.
He just showed up at the end.
He was a wet blanket for us.
Everybody dissipates. They go back to Valaris.
The only thing he did was carve the wood, you know.
Braxis is still out there.
And no one knows where she is.
No. Is that the end of it?
Yeah. They basically go back. They go back to the townhouse, basically.
Yes. I would say let's talk about the novella because Silver Flames.
The novella
has a lot, and I have a feeling that episode is going to be a lot.
After all that like drama, it's like nice and fluffy, but there's still the undercurrents, and it's the underpinnings of what happens in the 5th book.
Yeah, it's an intro into the 5th.
So it's the segue into the 5th book, right?
And this kind of like
because there's a perspective shift.
Yes. So winter solstice, you get perspectives.
Which is a big deal. Because all the solstices are, but the night
court
is the biggest one in night court.
Because again, the winter solstice is the longest night of the year.
Yes. So for night court. And this is right after the war, they're rebuilding.
They do special stuff in the night court.
You also get reminded that winter solstice is Feyre's birthday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And so they're rebuilding night court.
Yes.
Especially Valaris.
But the big deal is...
after the war.
They watch the shooting stars and they give presents. It's a big deal to give presents on solstice.
No, Starfall is not solstice, is it?
Isn't it? I think it is.
No, Starfall is before solstice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the big thing is the presents.
To solstice.
Okay.
And so...
And this is where in the whole thing, when you meet them, they always joke about giving Amren the jewels and how bad... Is it as...
Cass is
about giving presents.
they figure out the house is too small for them. So it's the winter solstice.
Yes.
They're all rehabbing after the war. Everyone's traumatized.
Yes. They're all licking their wounds in their own way.
Feyre goes to the Rainbow, which is the art district.
The art district, yeah.
And hasn't painted and is like runs into the art person.
Yeah.
That's like we paint this week tell our stories.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. That's right. She goes to like art therapy club or whatever it is.
Well, they invite her, but she doesn't go.
She goes to the bombed out section from when Hybern
attacked them the first time.
And she sees this one art studio and it's really sad that it's gone. It's gone. And then the gal walks over from next door and is like, hey.
It's the one who was wielding like a cudgel.
Yeah, yeah.
To defend
and she's like,
Rainbow.
Oh, the family
I remember
can't.
you coming and saving us. Do you want to join our group?
Yeah.
Yes.
And she doesn't. They go back. She goes back to the house and is like, oh my god, all this
She doesn't really. She can't quite do it.
She's like, I'll think about it.
She's just not ready. Yeah.
Right. Cass shows up with the pine leaves and pine.
I don't remember that.
He just dumps it on the floor.
Yeah.
Him and Feyre try to decorate, and then Az shows up.
They get drunk?
Yeah.
I should have just brought the damn book with me.
Az shows up is like, what the hell? And then everyone shows up is like, who let Cass and Feyre decorate?
Yeah.
And Rhys is like, you're an artist. You should be able to do this shit.
Yeah.
And then stuff happens, and then this is where the snowball fight happens.
Oh.
Where it's a tradition where Cass and Az show up and take Rhys away the morning of the solstice.
They go to Illyria to
their cabin.
To the cabin.
Yes.
But this is after Rhys gives Feyre her birthday presents, which is all sketching material shit.
That's right.
And we missed the part. Cass and Rhys and Az, there's the dissension among the ranks of the Illyrians.
Yes.
Which plays because it plays into what happens in book 5.
But I don't think they tell Cass.
No, they don't tell Cass until after solstice.
Because he would be all doing that not coming to solstice.
Right. And this is also where Rhys tells Mor, you need to go to the continent. They need to leave Prythian because she's still got her whole Irish trauma.
Yes.
And Kier trauma and needs to leave.
Yes.
Yeah. Mor needs to go and do something else.
And then so we go back and it's the snowball fight and Feyre eats breakfast and Mor shows up and she's like, where are the guys? And Mor winnows to the cabin and she's like, and Feyre's like, it's a fucking snowball fight.
They're having a snowball fight.
The 3 most feared warriors in all of
are having a snowball
Prythian.
fight.
Prythian are having
as
a
they
snowball
do,
fight.
right?
And she's like, and Mor's like, yeah, it's been a tradition since they were kids.
And they're like,
yeah.
Sometimes some people win, sometimes other people win.
And Az is the leader.
Really, you can turn the little boys into warriors, but you can't take the little boy out of the
And my favorite thing is they go and steam afterwards. And
that's right. That's right.
And in a sauna, it's a Norwegian sauna where they're and Feyre sends an image that makes Rhys hard, and he gets kicked out of the sauna
because he gets an erection.
Yes, and it's great. And Nesta's an alcoholic dealing with her trauma.
Oh, really badly.
Elaine.
Well, and it's not just she's an alcoholic. She goes and she gets trashed, and then she picks up men and fucks everybody.
And gambles.
Yes, and gambles and loses shit tons of money.
A lot of just like really risky behavior, basically.
Because she's trying to manage her trauma.
She's not financially ruining, like...
No, there's no way to financially ruin. They can buy all the jewels for Amryn.
But she's really trying to ruin...
what you find out is there's this trauma response.
She's basically running away from it
and Elaine has adjusted.
Chasing adrenaline.
Elaine because she's only had this one single trauma that she's been trying to slowly manage with the gardening the whole time.
Yes. Elaine gardens her grief away.
Yes.
Right?
And Nesta has all the daddy trauma from Hybern.
And the cauldron trauma.
But you guys also have to remember that Nesta is the oldest daughter. So Nesta feels like she royally fucked up in not being able to protect her sister. So like Nesta's got a double dose
and
of
you
this
gotta
going
remember
on.
too, Nesta was called out for what she did or didn't do and what Feyre had to do.
Yes.
Right.
That started all. Elaine and Feyre go shopping. They mention this tapestry that talks about loss and hope.
Yes.
Which is beautiful.
Yes.
And they buy all the presents and blah, blah, blah. And then they have to bribe Nesta to show up to the solstice party.
By giving her money.
Yes. To pay all of her rents.
Yes.
And then everybody shows up. Oh, right. At the end of the last book, Amryn gets pulled out of the cauldron too.
Oh, yes, that's right.
When they put it back together. Amryn comes back as
because
High
Rhys
Fae.
comes back and brings Amryn with her.
She doesn't have any of her powers
She
anymore.
comes back
she's
as High Fae.
She's not
but she's
what
still
she
scary.
has been.
Yeah.
She's not what she has been, but she's High Fae, so she has powers, and she's scary.
But
she's not a nightmare.
Not like she was.
She's not a nightmare from another dimension anymore. She's just a High Fae.
Honestly, I feel like that's a misdirect.
I think that is also a misdirect, too.
I think she came back with everything.
I think Amren kept more than she lets on.
Mm-hmm. And I think the cauldron let her keep it.
What the fuck is the cauldron going to do with it,
Because the cauldron...
Right? But Amren's also scary as hell.
Because the cauldron and Amren are from 2 different universes.
They're from 2 different universes,
but the cauldron is a feisty bitch. It doesn't want...
The cauldron is also a feisty bitch.
Elaine things because it liked Elaine,
but the cauldron is missing something.
It was Nesta took it.
But she took it out of the human queen. So I think Amren... Yeah. The cauldron's not gonna fuck with Amren.
The cauldron is a feisty bitch, but the cauldron also knows it's gonna lose a fight with Amren anyway.
Yes.
So I think there was a fair amount of you do you, girl.
Amren came back high Fae, but I don't think she is really high Fae.
No. You don't think so?
I think that honestly, what I think happened is she got enough powers. She got more powers to mask her not high Fae.
You think she's gonna come? That's gonna come out in book 6, whenever the fuck that comes out finally.
I think what's gonna happen is Amren's high Fae is
veneer.
It's something either she hasn't broken through or it is a glamour that she has learned from the cauldron. Because they never say how long. So the cauldron is seconds for people outside the cauldron.
Is what?
For someone outside looking in, watching what's happening to someone.
Seconds happen.
Seconds.
Yeah. But inside the cauldron is a very long time.
And so I feel like it's a misdirect. I feel like Amren still has.
Why wouldn't Amren tell her friends?
I think part of it is Amren doesn't want to. And maybe she doesn't have access to it.
What purpose does it serve at this juncture for Amren to tell them otherwise? But Amren also didn't come out and say, I don't have my powers. Everybody is operating on the assumption
because
that she doesn't have powers.
Well, and that was something that I did see in one of the things. Each book is a perception.
But again, remember, we only get it from Feyre's perspective up until this point.
Yeah. This book? In book 4, it's where you get multiple...
In book 4, that's where the perspective shifts from first person to third person.
Yeah, so we're seeing from Feyre's perspective. But then we're seeing on book 5 from Nesta's perspective. Yeah.
But again, everything that we're seeing, so what we're hearing about Amren's power being missing, we only hear that from Feyre.
Tangentially from Ad.
Tangentially
from Rhys, not
Rhys. Yeah. But also Feyre's opinion on it is also, I think, kind of impacting, it's influencing what Rhys thinks about it too. He's just like, oh yeah, no, sure, you've been right before Feyre. Okay, cool, whatever.
I really think Amren's high Fae is a misdirect. She's high Fae with access to all of her previous powers, is what it is.
But she has no...
Why would the cauldron do that, though?
I think the cauldron doesn't want to fuck with her.
Because I think the cauldron, I think that there's a fair amount of, the cauldron just doesn't want to fuck with Amren. But before,
they said they could see her through her eyes.
Yeah, and
now they can't see
that. But again, we're only seeing that through Feyre's perspective.
I think what happens...
Because she looked high Fae before, but she wasn't.
Had the eyes. But I think what the cauldron gave her something, or she took from the cauldron enough to where she looks, acts, and behaves high Fae with access to all of her previous...
But why would she want that? Is that so she can be with...
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why, but I feel like it's a misdirect.
We don't know Amren's motivation yet.
They mention too much her eyes throughout.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden she's high Fae. That I feel like...
And they still spend a lot of time...
That's not there anymore. They're just silver. Yeah. They're not...
But they still spend a lot of time talking about that in this book and the 5th book.
She's changed.
They take too much... Yeah.
She's definitely changed somehow.
They focus so much on her becoming high Fae because they talk about how she has to pee all the time now.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff.
And she has to eat food. They talk about her eating food and thinking it's nasty.
And the fact that they do that, I feel like
I think it's a little bit of a misdirect.
It's a misdirect. Yeah. Listeners, tell us what you think.
Yeah.
Do you agree with it? It's a misdirect. I think she's become high Fae, but has access to her previous powers.
But again, remember, we have to look at Elaine has now all of a sudden access to all of these seer powers through the cauldron. Nesta is now, we find out what she is in the 5th book, right? From the cauldron. Amren is infinitely more powerful than either of them going in.
Has access to all of the High Lord's powers.
Yes.
I think there's that, and there's something about the 3 sisters.
But remember, Amren was...
some kind of triad.
Amren was made. Amren bound herself into a Fae body, but she's not actually Fae.
She was made.
Not, yeah.
Before going into the cauldron. Yeah.
She was made.
Because she bound herself into the Fae body.
Because remember, she talked about how all of us were made so we can feel the cauldron's intent because we were made.
True.
Right?
She was made a little differently.
She was made, but she wasn't made by the cauldron.
But we still, even after book 5, don't know Amren's actual motivation.
Some of the stuff that we're getting into, though, is book 5.
We're touching on book 5.
The snowball
or even
fight.
Maybe book 6.
solstice party happens. Everyone has presents. They give all the presents to Rhys because Cassian was shaking everything.
Yeah,
everyone
Rhys,
was smelling everything.
Doesn't we call it playing Santa in our family where somebody hands out all the gifts to everybody?
Because everyone else will peek, so they do that. And then they surprise Feyre with cake and a party and presents.
Yes.
And through all of this, Feyre is in the damaged, broken down studio painting her trauma.
Yes.
Because after meeting the tapestry maker who had void and hope,
yes,
they do it because what else will I do?
Yes.
And so Feyre's painting and blah, blah, blah. And then all the presents. I love this. Cassian gives more lingerie.
That's right.
And everyone's like, oh my god. And Az is starting to like freak out. And they're like, Cassian's like, look, Moore gave me explicit details.
Cass is fucking with her.
No, Moore gave Cass explicit details.
Yes. Exactly what she wants.
And then Moore gave Cass matching to her. Az got like towels and random
which is
shit.
not foreshadowing at all.
Lucian shows up and gives Elaine something and alcohol to Feyre. Varian is there celebrating solstice with Night Court.
Right. Because he's there
for Amren. Feyre gets random ass presents and then she gives paintings to everybody.
Yeah.
And Rhys's painting is what she saw of herself in the Ouroboros mirror.
Oh yeah, and he likes it.
Well, I feel like it's because it's a mate to his beast form.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned in the battle, Hellion and Rhys are exact mirror images of their beast forms. So Rhys is the dark form, and Hellion is the day form.
The day form,
And in all the AI generated stuff, they're dragons.
And she's the female to his
and
male,
she's the mate to Rhys's dragon, essentially. And so they do all of that. Ultimately, she gets the painting studio and classes happen. This is where Moore gets told to go to the continent. Then Rhys takes...
kind of like art therapy.
Provide,
that's what I'm saying. And she joins like the art therapy club,
she gets the studio,
art therapy for people in Valeris.
And creates an art therapy class for kids and stuff. And the kids' magic are great. With the cudgel-wielding artists. She's like... She tells Rhys, let's have babies. When does she get the matching tattoos on her palms to Rhys's knees?
I don't remember.
I thought it wasn't at this book.
I think it's in this book.
But
it's in 4
Oh,
or
it
3.
is at the end of 4 because she says we're after all this, we're healing. We're never going to die. If we're going to die, we're going to die together.
And that's where she gets the matching. They kind of make that
like you go, I go path.
Because she loves him on his knees for her.
And so she gets the same on her palms, and then they agree to have a baby. Cassian has a present for Nesta, but Nesta doesn't want it, so
he chases her out, and she chucks it into the river.
And so that ends that, and then now we're going to get into Silver Flames,
which is absolutely fucking unhinged.
Okay, so this is another long episode. I'm sorry. Or not sorry.
But we had to.
Thank you for listening the whole time, by the way.
Look, the last few books of A Court of Thorns and Roses are long, and there's going to be a lot.
We may end up breaking the next episode into 2.
We might have to. Yeah, we might have to. Let us know your thoughts, your theories going into book 5 and beyond for A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Let us know if you like these deeper dives into books, or if you like the unhinged, or if you like a little bit of both.
And our happy hour suggestions. I do think we have some coming episodes that will talk about the various penis piercings we have seen.
That is information I didn't need to have.
No. Stuff we did not need to learn, but now we know and we'll never unsee.
I've been cursed with this knowledge, and now you also need to be cursed with it.
Like, listen, subscribe, social media, Salacious Sips Book Club, or just Salacious Sips. And for our webpage, it's Salacious Sips, a Drinky Book Club.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks, girls.
All right. Cheers bitches.